Hello, everyone. I'm Keith Stone, your host for HeroesX Office Hours for V12 of HeroesX. I'm here with Greg and Sarah and Janet and Elen, as usual, to discuss, on this occasion, the discussion questions for hours 19 and 20. For 19, the question is, do you think that the plot of the myth of the Sphinx is relevant to the plot of the drama Oedipus Tyrannus by Sophocles?
A little tricky because for Aristotle, mythos, which we translate as myth, is plot. So in the poetics of this great thinker of the 4th century, mythos is certainly not something you make up on the spot, but in fact, it's the blueprint for what happens in the plot of a drama and what happens to the character, and you can't separate them. So that's the trick.
On that note, a participant said, Oedipus knows the answer. Can he be the answer?
And he is. And he is. And although it's hard to say whether he knows that he's the answer, even in the myth of the riddle of the Sphinx. He certainly doesn't know that he is it in the myth about his killing his father and sleeping with his mother. That's clear that the only person who doesn't know that plot in the Oedipus Tyrannus is Oedipus himself. Everybody knows, even the most challenged citizen who is going to theater knows that much. So I like the way our discussion is going, that in a way, Oedipus can't know that the human who is being described in the riddle and who is the answer, that human is specifically Oedipus, since he will certainly be on all fours, and then as an adult, a two-legged person, but then as a broken down old man, the three-legged person. And you know, I learned a long time ago that anthropologically, in choral performance, that is to say in performances by a chorus, there's a special kind of dance that mimics, or as I would like to say, reenacts an old man with a cane. So in a sense, that's a dance step. It's not just the foot of Oedipus, it's the step of Oedipus. So it's part of the whole dramatic constellation.
Right. Would he have ever been the person going on 2 feet, since his name perhaps means the one with the swollen foot? Would he always have been an old man with a cane?
Maybe that middle stage is something that's lacking for him. I think that's a very good observation. I still remember Jean-Pierre Vernant, when he first visited Harvard, he gave a talk about Oedipus, and I loved his French way of saying ego fano, which is ego fano, but it's actually very accurately represented by somebody with a French pronunciation, with the strong emphasis on the last syllable, ego fano. I will shed light on this. In that same speech, he would be standing on a stage and start hobbling the way Oedipus would hobble with a swollen foot. And the number one thing that disqualifies a king in terms of myths about kings, very old myths, this is Anthropology 101, is if the king's body is defective, then the society is defective, and this is awful, but then the king should be disqualified. So if Oedipus walks like this, then he can't walk a straight line. He walks a crooked line. Therefore, he is an illegitimate ruler from the point of view of the 5th century. So he's doomed. He's doomed in so many ways, and he's the only one who doesn't know it. But I love that observation that yes, he may be not totally with it, even in his solution of the riddle of the Sphinx, because he's generalizing, whereas the riddle particularizes. Wow.
Yeah.
We have good readers.
Yes. There is also another comment from a participant. According to this participant, the plots are connected. By solving the riddle, he clears the pollution, and then he becomes a source of pollution.
Yes, yes, yes. Which is, in a way, a replay of what we see even in Aeschylus, where there's a pollution caused by vendetta. Every time there's a shedding of blood by way of murder for the sake of revenge, you're, so to speak, getting rid of the old pollution, but you're creating a new one. And in a sense, you have something similar here, is the earlier pollution of the community of Thebes, for which Oedipus is the king, is then followed by a new pollution caused by the king. Yeah.
Greg, could I ask a little bit about this? We get people going off and seeking advice from oracles, and usually they go with what they think is a straightforward question, and they get a riddling answer. We have seers who interpret signs or tell the leaders perhaps what they don't want to hear, and I'm thinking of Calchas and Agamemnon, for example, and Tiresias here. But with the Sphinx and Oedipus, it's sort of the wrong way round. It's the Sphinx who's asking a riddling question, and he's giving an apparently straightforward answer. Is it sort of messed up in some way?
Yes, yes. And I can't answer that. I cannot answer that directly, but isn't it interesting that Sphinx means the choker or choking, and it has to do with that horrible feeling that we all experience when we wake up in the middle of the night and we feel that there's something weighing on our chest and we're choking, and it's a nightmare. It's a realization of a nightmare. So maybe the fact that it's something so dreamlike, maybe it's that aspect of the Sphinx that makes the whole exchange between Sphinx and Oedipus even more strange.
So when he saves the city by solving the riddle, people pray to him as a savior, which is a wrong point. I think they're supposed to pray to Apollo.
Yeah, it's very bad timing. It's bad timing. It's okay for people to pray to a hero once the hero is dead, but when the hero is alive, that's just a collision course. And just as you say, dear Janet, the fact that Apollo is known as the Solter, as the savior, makes it a double mistake for the people to pray to Oedipus as a Solter, as a savior, and for Oedipus to accept that appellation, because he doesn't say, oh, no, no.
Well, shall we go to the next hour?
It's not that we will ever exhaust the riddles and the riddlings and just the re-questionings of the human condition that we see in Sophocles' Oedipus Tyrannus. What an amazing masterpiece.
But for now,
we'll
pass them by to go to the Hippolytus of Euripides.
This is Keith's favorite of all dramas.
In this tragedy, the chorus of women interacts with Phaedra in a variety of ways. Do you find a consistent pattern in the interaction?
Another trick question, because
a very wide-ranging question.
Because unlike male characters who are brought to life in a chorus. And I know I shouldn't even say that a chorus has a character, because a character should be consistent and the chorus is inconsistent, is fluid as a character. But let me just say this much, that when it's a group of females who are being represented, the inconsistency is ratcheted up. It's even more inconsistent. That's partly because, I think, of the genre, let me call it genre for the moment, of women's lament or women's love song. And the fact that I had to say lament or love song shows you that I shouldn't be using the word genre. Genre should be something where you're pretty sure what frame you're in. And in women's laments and love songs, the wondrous thing is that you can switch from, let's say, a love song to mourning over the loss of somebody near and dear, whether the loss is a breakup of a great love, or whether it's death, or whether it's sickness, or whatever it is, injury. There's a wide variety. But to get to my point, something that anthropologists have noticed about women's laments is that they tend to vary not only in what kind of emotion dominates, but in the chronology of a woman's life, that you can easily switch from the feelings of a teenage girl who has experienced menstruation for the first time, or shall we say, maybe a sub-teenage girl would be more accurate. But the next moment, it could be the experience of a mature woman who has experienced menopause, or it can be the experience of childbirth in between. It can be anything. And I'm amazed when I'm confronted with what the words of any given lament are as performed by a woman, how the chronology can zigzag. You can go from young motherhood to pre-motherhood, and then to old age, or whatever. It's a characteristic, I think, of women's lament in general, and I hate to universalize, but I would say that this is a commonly observed phenomenon in women's lament. I certainly see it in the Hippolytus of Euripides. I can't tell, and I actually say this in the book Ancient Greek Hero in 24 Hours, that I can't tell what the age of the chorus is in the Hippolytus. One moment, they're clearly women who have experienced childbirth, but then they seem to be pre-women in another moment. And I just think that's part of the scene, so to speak.
Yeah, there is a participant, the participant is wondering, the chorus has sympathy with Phaedra, but everyone else, especially Aphrodite, seems indifferent to her. So why is this indifference?
Yeah.
Well, but it's the chorus that matters. It's the chorus that matters, because it's the chorus in tragedy in general that can experience empathy, and that can not just artistically project, but emotionally project. And you see that so clearly, I think, in that beautiful first choral passage, where, if I'm right, Euripides, the anthropologist, is actually drawing upon real initiation songs sung by real sub-women, pre-women in the city of Troezen. And it's not just something we know happens from an antiquarian like Pausanias, who lived in the 2nd century CE, but also from the words of Euripides himself. At the end, Artemis says, there is such a ritual, which is a choral ritual. That is to say, it's performed by an ensemble of young women. And here, it's young women. because they are celebrating their coming of age by cutting a lock of their hair and dedicating it to not just Artemis, but to the hero cult, so to speak, of Hippolytus, which folds in the hero cult of Phaedra herself. And it's no accident that Phaedra means moonbeam, so it's the lunar cycle that is associated with women, and even the symbolism of menstruation is all about lunar cycle, of course. So it all fits so beautifully, and I think the Hippolytus is exhibit A for Euripides, the anthropologist, the intellectual who's interested not only in all sorts of exotic singing and dancing, but in the ritual that drives the singing and dancing. But before I just keep going on and on like this, let me turn to Keith, since this is, I know, his personal favorite of all dramas. I think, Keith, you should have the primary word here, not I.
Well, let's see. Oh boy,
Putting him on the spot.
For sure. I do love the chorus in this tragedy. They are so sympathetic and so insightful in their relations to Phaedra. And of course, the chariot crash is one of the
yes.
best parts.
It's amazing.
Well, you really are putting me on the spot.
No, but I think that's a beautiful answer, and I think what is so marvelous about the empathy or sympathy of the chorus is that if you now transfer this initiation ritual to the Athenian context of state drama, well, there you have the cadet citizens, who are of course male, having to undergo this emotional empathy with all phases of a woman's life, but they're male, not female, and so in a sense, I think it shows, if I can rob an expression from Flaubert, that there's a sentimental education that is fostered by the state.
Mm-hmm. And these aren't even Athenian girls in this case. It's very foreign-looking, outward-looking.
Exactly. So these cadet citizens of Athens have to be reenacting not only non-citizens but very exotic backwoods non-citizens, and not only that, they have to be reenacting women, or women in the making.
Mm-hmm. And the one Athenian, the most prominent Athenian in this tragedy, Theseus, doesn't even come off well.
He doesn't come off well at all. Although I once did a metrical study of the way Theseus sings after coming to grips with the damage that his curse had done, and coming to grips with the death of Hippolytus. And in that context, metrically, we can even see that he modulates between the voice of a man and the voice of a lamenting woman. So there's a mixture, shall we say, of registers, gender registers, performed even by our founder, Theseus, whose name means the founder and who's the kind of prototype of Athenian identity in the 5th century.
Well, I think we have to wrap up our session for today. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, dear participants and dear leaders of this dialogue. I had such a good time. Thank you so much.
All right, until next time.